Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here is your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, greetings, my friends, and welcome to today's episode of the Todd Huff Show. You know, when we have elected leaders telling the military to refuse orders, it's just unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable, the chaos, the turmoil that's out there today. We've got a mess on our hands, and we've got, of course, Trump firing back, calling it seditious behavior. Let's go through this today, and let's kind of set the stage, and let's, again, to me, there's one clear message. We don't do themes on this program. I don't do that. We talk about the things that are happening out there, and then let the chips fall where they may. But they keep landing, the chips keep landing in a nice, neat little row that point to the truth that we absolutely, as conservatives, as Republicans, as reasonable people, as people who care about and love this nation, we have got to win elections, and we have to do whatever is legal, moral, and ethical. That's why I'm so candidly infuriated at the the Senate here in my state of Indiana. Still haven't heard, by the way, from Rod Bray about coming on here and sharing his thoughts on redistricting. And it isn't over. I can assure you of that. We're just getting started on that. But we've got to remove these people from office. We've got to get rid of the people who do not understand the stakes and what has to be done to win this fight. Some people, like Rod Bray, are fighting this politically. I don't even know if he's fighting it, but are dealing with these issues as though this is 1950 or some such thing. I don't know. It's not the world that we live in at all. We live in a world that is being threatened by extreme people who are calling, if Trump called for the military under Biden to not listen to his orders, we all know exactly what the response would be. It is unbelievable to me, the place that we have gotten in this country, and it's chaos. Now, the good news is that we actually have a lot of things headed in the right direction. In fact, you may have seen today's Todd Talk was about the jobs reports. There were more than double the amount of new jobs created in September that were expected. I think there were 119,000. The estimates were somewhere around 50,000. And those are good steps. We had a leader. The Biden regime led this country down a path that was destructive, economically destructive. I don't think we still have fully grasped just how destructive the policies under Biden that were ushered in by the Democrat Party, led by the radical leftists, how devastating they truly were. Yes, we experienced it. Yes, it was terrible. And yes, we still have not fully recovered. Things are stabilizing. Things are improving. But we were decimated in ways economically, decimated in ways culturally, decimated in ways that relate to the way that liberty is viewed in this country. We were decimated by these policies and by this leadership of the Biden regime. And now that we have the power, political power, we're doing some things about it, but we are getting met with obstructionists all along the way, and we've got to defeat these folks politically, at the ballot box, in the marketplace of ideas, and that's what I want to talk about today, my friends. Again, still dealing a little bit with the voice situation. I apologize. I think it's largely fine, but it's occasionally I got to fight through it. I get this every year. I thought I got through I got through this one time earlier without probably any of you noticing, but I'm fighting it today. So doing my best here to keep that going. But if you want to be part of the conversation, share your thoughts and opinions, you can always email Todd at toddhuffshow.com. You can also go to the website. You can put your questions and feedback there. Some of these things will end up on our website. I answer questions. We're building out that portion of the website. I want to be as resourceful and helpful as possible, answering your questions for you, but also answering them for others to hear as well, for folks who have the same questions or who want to engage in the same sort of discourse and dialogue. I welcome that at the email, Todd at toddhuffshow.com, or on our website. All right. Let's now calibrate here, my friends. Let me ask you something here off the top, though. If you had the choice between spending hours in a doctor's office, getting tests and everything else, just talking with your doctor, would you prefer to do that, or would you prefer to take 2 soft gels a day? Because I know what I would prefer. That's why I have Solti here in the Huff household and take the product as well. You can too. It's been proven by science to reduce cholesterol for a lot of folks. May be able to do the same thing for you. It's affordable. It's a great first step. Listen, I like my doctor usually. He's been a friend of mine. You know, I've known him since the time he was a teenager, believe it or not. So he's all right. He's an all right guy. But I don't mind talking to him, usually. But I don't want to spend hours in the office talking about my health. Listen, there's times for that, and sometimes it's necessary. But if I can prevent having to have those conversations, then that's the better path to go. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Check out Solti, Solti.com. It's very affordable. Science is on its side. If you have a history of high cholesterol, heart issues, either personally or in your family, check it out. Solti.com, Soltea. Promo code Todd's going to save you 50% off the already very affordable price of this product. Promo code Todd also gets you free shipping. So Solti.com, Soltea, promo code Todd. All right, so let's get started here today. I don't remember if I played this entire thing, if I just referenced it. I think I mentioned it either on the program or on the on our Todd Talk. And the Democrats. So Democrats in the House and Senate, 6 of them, got together and they made a video. Now, they didn't make a video of their own accord. Of course, somebody who's been studying messaging, the Democrat Party apparatus, the party of, the messaging firm of the woke movement and so forth. They got these folks together and said, hey, you guys have all served in the military. By the way, I appreciate their service in the military, regardless of their political affiliation. I don't really appreciate what they did, though. What did they do? They got on camera and they started telling members, or service members, I should say, to not follow orders given by Trump, to defy orders from, of course, President Trump, Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. They said, don't listen to these guys, which is constitutionally, listen, I know that context is king and nuance matters. We talk about the details and explain these things on this program. Even in this case, where I'm going to tell you that there are times when, in theory, military members should not obey orders if they're truly illegal and unconstitutional. You know, you go back to what happened with the Nazis in Germany and so forth. You know, it's so interesting to me. It's so interesting to me when I think about the Holocaust and think about those evils and how unified the world was. Thankfully, by the way, I don't mean this as a criticism. I just want to point out that there's a logical inconsistency happening here. But the world was on the side, by and large, of what was good in World War II. They fought against the evils of Nazi Germany. They fought against and stood up against and wanted consequences for those people who were involved with the evils of the Holocaust. And we understood objectively right and wrong back then. But what's interesting to me today when I think about that is we've got a group of people who tell us that the Holocaust either wasn't objectively wrong. I hear these people out there today, which is mind-boggling to me, or they'll tell us it was objectively wrong, but because they have no solid ground, if they don't believe in a creator, there's no objective way to say that it was wrong if there's not a creator, if there's not an objective moral code. And it would seem strange to hold people, like in the Nuremberg trials, accountable for doing acts of evil, performing acts of evil, even though it was the orders were given to them by their leader, Hitler, and the other lunatics in that regime. It would seem odd to simply say you are held accountable for something that we just find socially unacceptable instead of just, absolutely morally wicked and depraved. But that's what happened. And at the time, and in those days, we had a pretty clear perspective on what was good and what was evil. We've lost that today in this country. We've got a group of people that are wandering around out there that have no idea, morally speaking, which way is up and down. They have no basis for how they determine what's right and wrong. A lot of these folks want to deny that there's a creator. Listen, you can try as many ways as you might. It's impossible to come up with an objective rationale for morality if you do not have a moral lawgiver, if you do not have a creator. It just isn't possible. It becomes suddenly up to the whims of people on planet Earth, or even up to an individual. But how can I enforce my view of morality if it's not objective on somebody else? So you have chaos, and this is at the root of the Democrat Party. So as these folks are speaking to you here, lecturing our troops about not taking orders from the commander-in-chief, by the way, who's constitutionally able and in the position of power to give such orders, they're now telling our troops in this video not to listen to President Trump, and I'll give you a flavor of that by playing what they said here. Oh, hold on, had to go to load another page first. Okay, what's it?
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris
Let me recue that. So they're going to introduce themselves at first. This is about 90 seconds. I thought this was about a minute. I'm just going to play this for you. And I'm going to withhold. I'm going to be silent for 90 seconds here. Let's listen to the video. Here we go.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army.
Our Navy.
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
Our Constitution.
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Don't give up the ship. That's the words on the screen here. I mean, very dramatic. You heard the music there. So the question would become, what orders are they opposing, right? I mean, that to me is the next logical question. By the way, I think I mentioned this before. This gives the vibe of, to me, if you remember back when Trump was elected in 2016, and after that initial period of shock that the Democrats had, when they screamed at the universe and everything else, they finally got their wits about them and thought, we got to stop this guy. This guy's serious. This guy isn't like most people who win become president of the United States, who win the presidential election. This guy seems kind of serious about building that wall and making America great again, something that, unfortunately, many of these jokers that you just listened to have a problem with America's greatness as set forth and founded by those who helped establish this great nation, our founding fathers. Nonetheless, these it reminds me of again, that the video that popped into mind is after the 2016 election. I remember Martin Sheen was the lead narrator, but there were other members of of Hollywood as well, who got on camera and who begged the Electoral College to not vote for President Trump. You could say this was the first attempt at overthrowing our election and subverting our democracy. This is, by the way, this sort of thing has happened before, where an election was, the outcome was determined, and then other individuals tried to influence the next steps in the process, keeping the person who won the election from actually winning the election that matters. That's the Electoral College vote. Anyway, this reminds me of that, the same sort of pathetic approach, but it begs the question here: what order are you so upset about? What are the orders that you would want members of Congress to actually, members of the military to not follow? Because if you talk in code, if you're just saying we're preparing you for what might happen, don't obey an illegal order. Well, what is an illegal order, right? We've already mentioned that there are provisions in the law that allow people to not follow an illegal order, but that is something that is pretty important that we determine. You can't just say, I don't like the guy in office, so therefore it's an illegal order. You can't just say, I think Trump stole the election with Elon Musk and Musk's satellites, with his high technology and his ability to steal elections. There are, by the way, leftists who believe that. You can't say that because of that I'm not going to follow Trump. There has to be something that you can articulate, that you can be reasonable in your articulation as to why something is illegal. And that is something that is obviously, seems to me, the starting point. So Martha MacCallum had one of these representatives on her show talking about this video, and she asked him numerous times, I think 4 times in all, she asked him to articulate the reasons that Trump, the reasons, the illegal orders, I should say, that Trump has provided that the military should not be following. She asked 4 separate times, and every single time, he was unable to give specifics. Now that seems relevant to me. Why make a video telling members of our active duty armed forces to not obey lawful orders if you cannot tell us what unlawful order, I should say, has been given that they should not include, that they should not be following? And that, to me, seems to be the relevant part of the conversation here today. So that's what I want to talk about here in a moment. Before I do that, though, my friends, let's talk about something that is important. That's your money. You worked hard for it, but is it working hard for you? Well, my friends, at 48 Financial, they specialize in biblically responsible investing. That means, as audio came in my ear there and into your speakers as well, that means that they screen out companies that don't align with your faith and your values, and they'll help create a plan that fits your goals and your purpose. The best part is they do all that heavy lifting for you, and they show you if or to what extent your current investments stack up against your values. All you have to do is go to 48financial.com/Todd. That's 48financial.com/Todd. 48 Financial, helping you align your money with your mission. And when you go to that website, you can complete an assessment, and they will take that information and tell you to what degree your current investments align with your values. All right. So that being said, let's. What I want to do next is spend a little bit of time here playing a bit of this interview that Martha MacCallum had. And again, the idea here is to determine which laws. This is, by the way, Representative Jason Crow. She asked him multiple times, which laws are you telling the U.S. military members to not follow by Trump? It seems to be relevant. It seems to be important. You can't just be talking in the abstract constantly. At some point, the chickens have to come home to roost here, and you got to land on an example. Here's that exchange.
What law are you talking about that's being broken? And then you said that he's implying that he might do something that they wouldn't want to uphold or follow through with in the future. What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, number one, the protests at Lafayette Square in the first Trump administration where he said, can't you just shoot them? Can't you just shoot them in the legs or something? That's his direct quote. And of course, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That was not a military order. That was a comment. That's not a military order.
When that's coming from the President of the United States to your generals, don't you think that's a request?
I'm asking specifically right now what you're talking about.
Yeah, number two, he's also threatened to send the military into Chicago and other cities to, quote, go to war with those cities. Right? That is a very, very disturbing thing. Number three, he's also alluded to sending troops to polling stations, which is actually a violation of U.S. law. U.S. criminal law prohibits troops from going to polling stations. And he's alluded to that. So those are just one of many examples.
You're talking about
Donald Trump
illusions. You're not
recently
talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that are members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on...
All right, I'm out of time here. I got to pause. We'll pick this up and get into this in the next segment. But she's saying, look, you're talking about illusions. You're talking about comments, statements, questions. What's the order that he's given that has been illegal? He's got nothing, by the way. But yet they're out there making this video, making political hay out of this to further the narrative of the extreme radical left. Timeout's in order here, though, my friends. Quick timeout. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Here we are on this Friday, the Friday before Thanksgiving. Next week, by the way, is going to be an abbreviated and short week. It is my favorite holiday of the year. It'll be a little bit of a special week. We'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We will not be here Thursday. We will not be here Friday. We'll be celebrating Thanksgiving again. My favorite holiday. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I love Thanksgiving. But on Wednesday, we do what's probably my favorite program of the year. It's the true story of Thanksgiving. We do this every year for two reasons. This is something that Rush Limbaugh used to do on his program every Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I heard him do this, and it was my favorite episode, which is saying a lot. It was my favorite episode of his every year. So I wanted to continue that as a, not to steal from him. That's not the point. The point is to take the story that he was telling and to share it and to continue his legacy, because he was so instrumental in helping to guide this country through some very, very precarious times. I don't know where we would be today without the late, great Rush Limbaugh as a nation. And then, of course, just for the educational component of this, the real story, the true story of Thanksgiving, what we could really learn if we dig down, is so critically important to our understanding of the blessings we have here, the advantages of free market capitalism over government-managed socialism and all the things that came from the prosperity of free market capitalism. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be on Wednesday, but next week is a shortened week. So before the break, I played this clip, or at least part of this. I'm going to play this again. Go back to the beginning here. I want you to listen to the entire thing. I might pause it. I'm not entirely sure. But again, Martha MacCallum is talking with Representative Jason Crow. Jason Crow is, he's a member of Congress, Democrat. He is, again, trying to not answer her direct question. He doesn't give an example of it. He gives examples of things that could have been an illegal order, but none of these were. None of these were. In fact, he goes all the way back. You think about this. Why are you just now making this video, Mr. Crow, Representative Crow, if the example you cite at the beginning goes back to Trump's first term? Why didn't you make this video then? I mean, none of this makes sense, but what's underlying this entire thing is the left wants a narrative that says Trump is a dictator, Trump is Nazi, Trump is bad, MAGA is the modern day Nazi movement. That's what they want you to believe. That's the narrative that they are searching for, that they're trying to use to get traction moving into the midterms. Now, I would tell you, if they were so confident about winning the midterm elections and so forth, would this be their messaging? Would this be their messaging? See, this is desperate. This reeks of desperation to me. This shows that the only chance they really think that they have at winning is trying to convince the American people that their government is basically Hitler's Nazi regime 2.0. That's what they want you to believe. And when you come to grips with that, and then you think, my goodness, we've had people shot or shot at, murdered. We've had all sorts of political violence. We've had the justification of riots in our city streets by these radical leftists, from Antifa to Black Lives Matter. You've had all these things, and they're going to try to ramp this up further. They're going to turn up the heat. Remember, I said last week, or maybe earlier this week, about Hunter Biden. I did a Todd talk on that, where Hunter Biden said he thought the temperature needed to be turned up politically, rhetorically today. Apparently, and I asked the question, where does one turn the heat up to? He was specifically talking about the assassination, in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. How do you turn the heat up, and why would you want to, from political assassination? Where does one go from there? Genocide of your political enemies? I mean, I don't know where you even go to turn the heat up from political assassinations, but that's where we are. That's where we find ourselves today. And this is prepare yourself. This is where we're going. This is the only chance they think they have to win. And so they make this stupid video, making it sound like they're pleading with our service members to stop being used like Nazi war criminals because Trump is Hitler, and you got to listen and defy his orders if you want to be a real American. That's what this is about. This is about political posturing. Has no basis at all in reality, and you can find that out simply by listening to his responses, Representative Crow's responses here. And I'm going to play this again. I'm going to get through this and we'll talk about this. But here he is talking with Martha MacCallum, who, again, I would say answering her questions, but he doesn't answer her questions. And you'll hear that as I play this. Here it is.
Talking about that's being broken, and then you said that he's implying that he might do something that they wouldn't want to uphold or follow through with in the future. What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Well, number one, the protests at Lafayette Square in the first Trump administration, where he said, "Can't you just shoot them? Can't you just shoot them in the legs or something?" That's his direct quote. And of course, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That was not a military order. That was a comment. That's not a military.
When it wasn't an order, it was if that even happened, it's a question. And if Trump is trying to asking a question as to whether something can be done is asking what the rules are. Even whatever reality is regarding the situation, or whether that was ever uttered or whatever, asking what can be done is, in fact, showing that one cares about the way the law concerning the orders that one can give. He wouldn't have asked a question if he would have just said, "Hey, go out and slaughter them," and then the military would have done it. If that would have happened, then I understand why your video, Mr. Crow, would be in existence, but it's not what happened at all. You're telling us what you think might happen, what you think Trump was trying to cause to happen, but yet you still have no evidence for any of this. But he continues here.
When that's coming from the President of the United States to your generals, don't you think that's a request?
I'm asking
it wouldn't be a question.
Number one.
Right now,
number two,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, number two, he's also threatened to send the military into Chicago and other cities to, quote, go to war with those cities. Right? That is a very, very disturbing thing. Number three,
pause. I meant to pause that there. So, yeah, there are examples, according to U.S. law, where the National Guard can be deployed. Again, what part of this is illegal? You can question whether or not the conditions are such that this can be done. You can question the political calculations here, the consequences of this or whatever. You can have problems with it. But to act like there's no example where the National Guard can be sent in, that's not the case. It's not the case either. Give us an example here, Representative Crow, please.
He's also alluded to sending troops to polling stations, which is actually a violation of U.S. law. U.S. criminal law prohibits troops from going to polling stations. And he's alluded to that. So those are just one of many examples.
You're talking about
Donald Trump
illusions. You're not
recently
talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that are members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about
Martha,
not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs?
No.
Is that what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Right? As a military officer, what I think is important is we train people, we give them information, we prepare people for challenges coming down the pike.
Stupidity.
That is what I did as a commander in the military. That's what I'm doing now. As we are standing by our troops, we are reminding them of their obligation.
Order from the commander in chief that we are asking our military to carry out, are you objecting to? This is very, very vague, and it was so vague in this video. I don't think people could.
Oh, sorry there, but that's the end of the clip. So he doesn't give an answer. What are you talking about specifically? What are you talking about? Give me a specific answer, explanation here. He can't do it because there isn't one. He wants to do this proactively. He wants to get in front of this. Well, why don't you make a video about every potential thing that could happen in the United States government? Like, I don't know, the Democrat Party abusing its power when they're in control of the House of Representatives to impeach the president. Let's get out there and do a video about that as well. I've got to take a break here, my friends. If you're curious about Kratom, trying to figure out who to trust about Kratom, let me introduce you to Christopher's Organic Botanicals, family-run company. They offer natural, lab-tested Kratom, not the synthetic stuff that's given Kratom a bad name. It is produced in conjunction or with Indonesian farmers. They source those. They work directly with them. They follow the same traditions that have been trusted for generations. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, none of that funny business. Just clean, honest alternatives for people looking for a more natural way to support their health. You can start with their Kratom Starter Pack. It's a great way to begin. Coupon code Todd Huff will save you 10%. Visit Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. That's Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. Truth, tradition, transparency. Time out here for me, my friends. Quick time out. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Trump, of course, does not sit back quietly here. He responds to the video and what's being requested of these members of Congress as it pertains to the military, active military, following the orders of the commander-in-chief today. Trump, of course, is not going to sit back and take this quietly. He calls this seditious behavior at the highest levels. Stephen Miller also is out there. I don't have time to get to his clip today, but I do have it in the stack of stuff. Former Trump advisor Stephen Miller said that this video the original video, which I played in the first segment, not that interview with Martha MacCallum, but the interview about which that, or excuse me, the original video about which that interview focused, was a call for rebellion. That's what Stephen Miller said. And he called it an insurrection, plainly and directly. So Trump responds and says this is seditious behavior at the highest level. He re-truthed, I think that's the way you say it, for the Truth social media platform. Somebody posted on Truth Social to one of Trump's comments about this being seditious at the highest behavior. Someone said, hang them, George Washington would, and Trump reposted that. Trump also pointed out the seditious behavior can be punishable by death. And so you've got, I mean, it's really obviously ratcheted up here. By the way, seditious conspiracy, 18 U.S. Code 2384, conspiring by force to hinder or oppose the U.S. government. Now, there's, of course, interpretations on everything. Some say that this sort of thing requires force. Others say if you're calling for something that basically undermines the way that the government is supposed to operate, that can fall under that particular category. Treason, by the way, that's when you levy war against the United States or give aid and comfort to our enemies, punishable, of course, by death or prison. This isn't really treasonous in the legal sense. That you could say it's treasonous in the general sense of the word, where you're undermining your country, but this isn't legally treason in that sense. But it's definitely undermining our democracy. You know, it's remarkable to me. You've got these people who have gotten these platforms, who have cried and wailed about these things for years now. Things like Trump stole the election, or Trump is caused an insurrection on January 6th of 2021. Trump is a Nazi. Trump is this. Trump is that. Trump is a danger. Trump wants to make himself king. We just had a no King's Day, no King's protest here a couple of weeks ago. This stuff, or maybe a month or so ago, whatever. But the point is, what they're accusing Trump of, they're actively trying to prevent him from having certain constitutional authorities. They're encouraging the military to not follow his orders when he is according to the Constitution, the commander-in-chief. That means he's in control of the military forces. What his orders are, the troops are supposed to follow. Now, certainly, they don't have to follow illegal orders, but you have to articulate why they are illegal. Saying that Trump alluded to something in a question or comment, that is probably a questionable comment or question to begin with, meaning I don't even know if it's a legitimate quote of his. If you say he alluded to that, therefore that becomes an order, that's absurd. Asking a question is not giving an order. In fact, those are different. Do you think, for those of you who served in the military, did your commanding officers, those who had authority over you, did they ever ask you to do stuff? Hey guys, do you guys care if we go out and go on a little run here? Do you care? Is it okay with everybody if we go out and do a certain field exercise? Is that okay? Is that how that worked? I mean, it's so stupid to me. Anyone who has the slightest bit of sensibility and reason can say questions, listen, I'm not even granting that the question was legitimately asked by Trump, but a question isn't an order. An allusion isn't an order. He can't give examples, but yet he's making a video telling troops to disobey the commander-in-chief, potentially, and he can't articulate which order they should not be obeying. What is really going on here, my friends? I've told you off the top, this is about politics, as always, my friends. I'm getting to the end of the program here. Let me remind you, friends, have you ever noticed how some families seem to have a plan that lasts for generations? That is not by accident. Full Suite Wealth works with people who want their wealth to make a difference for years to come. Their team brings together high-level investment strategies like private equity, private credit, options strategies, with expert legal guidance. It's about making sure your vision becomes a reality for the people you love today and tomorrow. If you're looking to do more than just manage your money, if you want to leave a mark, if you want to pass along something that is lasting, take a look at Full Suite Wealth. FullSuiteWealth.com. They will help you build your legacy, secure your future. And friends, with that being said, I got to start wrapping up here today. But listen, this is only going to intensify. As I said in the Todd Talk today, as I've said on this program for a while, the one way through this, the one way we fix this problem, the one way we stop the shenanigans here is that we win politically. We defeat these lunatics, and we have to win on multiple fronts, but we definitely have to win at the ballot box here, my friends. So, I got to wrap up. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday. SDG.